Today, I'm cooking one of those recipes. You either love it or you don't. It is meatloaf. Pulled this one out of my recipe box. It's a recipe I have been improving and making tweaks on over the years. I think I've really nailed it and I'd love to share it with you. My name's Nancy. Welcome back to Nancy's Homestyle Kitchen, where I share how to cook real food with simple ingredients and no pressure to be perfect. Meatloaf is one of those things that we grew up with, and it was a recipe that was handed down from generation to generation. Over the years, I have tried so many different recipes from famous chefs, from TV personalities, and I've taken bits and pieces from all of them to come up with what I think is a fantastic meatloaf. The reason I like my meatloaf recipe is it doesn't taste like meatballs. Like, I used to totally put Parmesan cheese, Italian seasoning, and all this stuff in there, and it ended up like tasting like a meatball. I wanted it to taste like meatloaf, kind of like a classic diner meatloaf, but not too sweet on the glaze. That was a turn off for me. I want it to have a little bit of sweetness, but more on the savory side. With any good meatloaf, I always have to serve mashed potatoes, so I'm gonna make my favorite recipe for mashed potatoes, and it comes from the Pioneer Woman, and I will show you how I make that. So right now I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I have my potatoes boiling, and we're gonna go over to the stove and I'll show you how to start by sauteing the onions. So you want to start with a heavy bottom stainless steel skillet or a cast iron skillet, and I'm gonna turn it on to medium low heat. I have 1 tablespoon of butter, and I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. The olive oil will help the butter from turning brown too quick. So we're gonna get that heated up, and then we will add in 1.5 cups of diced yellow onion. Here is 1.5 cups of finely chopped yellow onion. And then I have 1 teaspoon of fresh chopped thyme and a pinch of kosher salt. So the salt is going to help draw the moisture out of the onions. The butter and the olive oil are going to nicely coat the onions. And then we just want to cook these low and slow till they're translucent. We don't really want to brown them. We just want them to go from this solid kind of white color to a more opaque translucent color. You can probably hear my potatoes boiling. So for the potatoes, all I did was I took a 5-pound bag of russet potatoes, peeled them, cut them in 2/3 or half. They're about a 1 to 1.5 inch size chunk, and I'm just boiling them in water until they are tender. This is going to take about, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. So I'm just going to sit here and just keep tossing these and moving them around so they don't stick or start burning. We don't want to see brown color on these too quick. If you do see that the onions start browning, that means that your flame is too high and you just need to turn it down, because all we're trying to do is extract all the moisture out of the onions and release some of that flavor. One of the recipes I tried that I took a lot of inspiration from actually was from Ina Garten, but she uses twice as many onions. So she uses 3 cups of onions. It's a little too much onion for my family. It was really, really good, but I like just a reduced amount of onions. Okay, you can see that all the juices have pretty much evaporated. What we're left here in the pan is just a little bit of that oil. You see there's no browning of the onions. They're translucent and nothing is sticking. So that's all gonna change because we're gonna add tomato paste. I like this double concentrated tomato paste, but the secret is to brown it. So I'm gonna put a tablespoon. I'm just gonna eyeball it. And what we want to do is cook that tomato paste. Okay. Okay, so what we want to do is kind of cook this tomato paste. Kind of want to brown it, caramelize it a little bit. It'll get rid of some of the kind of acidic tomato flavor. It'll create some umami, which provides a real depth of flavor in it, and you can see it's kind of sticking to the pan a little bit. But really, you just want to kind of saute this in here for, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna, at this point, kind of mix it in with the onions. And instead of putting ketchup in the meatloaf, in the meat part of the meatloaf, now we're putting some savory tomato paste in there, and I think it tastes a lot better. These smell so good. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of beef broth or beef stock. And you can see that got pretty much all that, whatever tomato paste concentrate was stuck to the bottom. It released it all from down there. Okay, and lastly, we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I think Worcestershire sauce is such a classic flavor for meatloaf. You have to have it. Okay, this is all incorporated. We're gonna go over and get the meat mixture while this cools for a couple minutes. We're gonna get the meat mixture assembled. I'm gonna check my potatoes, and then once we have pretty much the meat mixture ready to go, we will add this in. So I'm just gonna take it off the heat so it can cool off. In this bowl, I have 2 pounds of ground chuck. You can use either 80 or 85% lean. I tend to use the 85% lean because I don't like too much of the residual fat coming off of the meatloaf, but the little bit of fat in the meat does give it flavor, so be sure not to use anything leaner. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. You can use plain breadcrumbs, seasoned breadcrumbs. You can even use panko. I have 3 tablespoons of fresh parsley that has been chopped. And then I have 2 eggs. So I'm gonna lightly beat the eggs, and we'll add that to the meat. Okay, just pour that over the meat. And then you can either go in with your hands. I like to try just to use some forks to break it up, but eventually we're going in with our hands. But the thing with meatloaf is you don't want to overwork the meat. You really just want to get everything mixed in. So I'm just gonna kind of break it up a bit, spread it around, and then we will add the onion mixture. The onion mixture has that beef stock in there, so that will add some moisture. A lot of recipes call for milk. It's just having that extra little bit of moisture in really helps keep the meatloaf from drying out. So again, the oven is at 350 degrees. I have a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. I like baking my meatloaf just on a sheet pan like this instead of in a loaf pan. I've done the loaf pan in the past, but I think it just turns out better and it gets the little crispy edges around when you do it on a sheet pan. So now here is our slightly cooled onion, Worcestershire sauce, beef broth mixture. It smells so good. And you can see how the pan has very little stuck to it. It was just hot enough when we put that tomato sauce in there, or the tomato paste concentrate. It didn't really stick to it at all. It just released as soon as it hit that beef stock. It just pulled right up. Now it's really loosened up a bit more since adding the onions and the sauce. And again, you don't want to overmix it because you don't want it to be tough, but you just want to make sure that you're incorporating all of those ingredients evenly throughout the beef. Okay, this is mixed up really well. I'm going to wash my hands real quick and then we'll turn it out and form it into a loaf. My hands are wet, they're nice and clean. I took my jewelry off and I just want to turn this out onto the pan and we'll try to shape it into a loaf. It should be about 7 to 8 inches long and about 3 inches high. You just want it to be as evenly shaped as possible so it cooks evenly. Looks more like 2 inches high, but that's okay. I'm gonna shorten it up a little bit, narrow it. It'll make it a bit taller. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this in the oven for 30 minutes. As it's baking, I'll show you how I make the glaze because this is gonna bake for 30 minutes without the glaze. So I'll get it in the oven, I'll come back and show you how we make the glaze. To make the glaze for the meatloaf, we're gonna start with 3/4 cup of ketchup. To that, I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. As you can see, it's a little wet. That's because I pulled my brown sugar out and it was as hard as a rock. So I just pulled out a little bit, added like a drop of water, and it just kind of came back to life super quick. Now I have 1/2 teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder. I need 1/2 teaspoon each of Dijon mustard. Hopefully this doesn't come pouring out everywhere. Yep. Okay, maybe a teaspoon. That's what I get because it was at the end of the container, so I flipped it over. But a little extra isn't gonna help. But you do want 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon, 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and finally 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And this is gonna just give it a tiny bit of tang. So we'll have sweet, savory, tanginess, we'll have it all. So just put it, I just like putting it in this measuring cup with a handle because what we're gonna do is we'll glaze, and I'll just brush this glaze on the meatloaf, like half of it on the meatloaf at 30 minutes and then again 15 minutes later. So that way the first layer of glaze will kind of like seep down into the meat, and then the second layer will make kind of a nice glazy top. Okay, so that is it for the glaze. This is ready. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll finish the potatoes. The potatoes finished boiling, so I'm gonna drain them and then I'll meet you back over the stove, show you how I mix the potatoes, and we'll get those in the oven with the meatloaf as well. So I took the pot of potatoes over to the stove and I drained all the water off, sticking the pot back on the burner set on high because I'm gonna start mashing, and I wanna make sure that any moisture left in these potatoes I can evaporate. Now, I like my potatoes more on the Homestyle side where they're not like silky, creamy. I love potatoes with flavor. I don't mind a little bit of texture. So I like doing it with a potato masher, and I find it's really easy and I can just make it in this one pot. So you'll see a lot of the steam is starting to escape. But you want to be careful not to overwork the potatoes because they can become gluey. So pretty much most of the steam is gone. Now we're going to add 1 cube of salted butter. So that is 1/2 cup. And I like spreading it out instead of just plopping the whole cube of butter in there. And then I have another cube of butter. We'll use about another 1/4 cup to dot the top of the casserole. I'm just gonna kind of stir it in there just to get it covered so it could start melting. Again, I don't want to overwork the potatoes either. Then I think that's why I love this so much. It calls for an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. So I don't need gravy with these potatoes. I think they're great just as they are. But these are the potatoes that I make for holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas. They are super, super good with gravy. My boys absolutely love this. And I've also added some cheese and bacon and green onions or chives to this to make like a twice baked potato situation, and that turns out really well too. So this is a teaspoon each of pepper and Lowry's seasoned salt. And then finally I have some half and half. I'm going to go in with about a half a cup, and I'm just going to eyeball it. And you can see that butter and the cream cheese, they melt really fast. So I'm gonna switch over to a spatula so I can scrape, and you'll see how, again, that cream cheese is just melting and there's gonna be little chunks of potato. I don't mind. If you do mind, you can absolutely take your hand mixer, whip these up, or put your potatoes through a ricer. You can do that, but I like just the rustic type potato. And I think this is great. I don't feel like I need to add any more half and half. Let's take a taste test and see how they are. They're so good. And I love, what I really like about this is it still tastes like potato. It's not like super masked where all you taste is all the toppings. You actually can taste the good potato flavor. All right, I have a 9x13 casserole dish that I buttered. All I'm gonna do is dump the potatoes into the dish. I'm gonna dot the top with about a 1/4 cup of butter and stick it in the oven right next to the meatloaf. And all we're doing at this point with the potatoes is we're keeping it warm and we're going to be melting that butter. So it's a win-win. You can cook both at the same time. And here we have our yummy, comforting meatloaf and mashed potatoes. I went ahead and cooked up some green beans while these were baking, so that way I had a nice rounded out meal. But let's go ahead and give it a try. This is the edge of the meatloaf, always my favorite part. You get all the flavor of the beef, a little bit of the onion. It's not overpowering. The glaze isn't overly sweet. It's just nicely balanced and paired with the wonderful Pioneer Woman creamy potatoes. These two recipes are a hit. They're classic and they're perfect for your winter night. If you like this type of content, please hit that like button, consider subscribing, and I will be back next week with another recipe from my kitchen.